Now this card for the craft room is really quite a fabulous card, and it looks a lot more complicated than it is. So what I'm going to do is just take you through step by step. We're going to look at each of the elements and see how it all builds up. So what the first thing you'll notice is that I've actually done it in a square format, and that's an A5 square, but you'll see the pattern and where to cut when you print it out. So that's fairly obvious, so just follow that. Okie dokie. The other thing now is an issue which I haven't really dealt with on this, and it's something which we've got to look at, and this one isn't so bad, but we've got a white line running down here. Now most printers go edge to edge, and on this particular example I would suggest that you do that if you can, because what we then will have is well, you'll see when we put the next part in. If not, you're going to have to keep a little white line there or trim one of the parts down. So let me show you that right now. So now once we've got the walls and the floor ready, we need to just stick them together. It folds flat like this with the two flaps turned inwards. They're going to become the skirting board. That's going to butt up to the edge, and we have our front cover here. So think of it like that, front cover open, triangle sloping away, and the two white lines there, and that will create the space for the desk as we open up. So the next thing to do now is just to go ahead and glue this. Okay, so just carefully line everything up. It's quite useful to make sure we don't go over that point there, and as I said, just line it all up with the base of the floor and carefully stick it down. I'm going to just peel one part back so I can just see what I'm doing a little bit more. It's on the way now, it's sticking, so I'm going to let that do its thing, then put that one over there, this cover comes over, and that will just sort itself there. And now if we open up, we can see we've got the floors. This is a nice sort of 3D shape. At this point, if you want to, you can start trimming little bits up, because then you're ready to put the rest of it in, and there's enough allowed in there for that. So what I'll do now is just trim that edge off, and the next thing we're going to do is put the desk in there. Okay, now I've now glued the legs and the back part here, and this it's a little bit tricky to show you, but not so bad to do in real life. What I've got are the two white lines that mark on the floor there, and what I'm going to do is just line up the feet with the tabs of the feet of the desk here with those white lines. If I just lay that down, you should see that like so. Let that find its way. That's going to go there like that. Now that fold line must never go over that crease there, else it's not going to work properly. So if you just lay this flat and put that there like so, and then if we fold this down like that, it's now a case of just closing this up. You can see the fold, and that will then find its own natural way on the wall. I'll just show you like that. Now we have sort of previously marked it, but maybe this is probably the best way of doing it, because what we're creating here is a pop out like so. We can see the desk there. Let me just show you how that now works, and boom, we can see now the desk. If I just do that, so that's found its own measure. Now there is a slight there is a mark there because you just don't know where you're going to go with the floor. I suggest that we do this technique, and that really does just kind of find its own way then. Again, if anything isn't quite lining up, you can always trim a little bit of it off if you need to. Anyway, the desk fits on there quite nicely, and that's all in there. So the next thing to do is just to look at the filing cabinet and then the chair, and then we'll build up all the objects on here. So with the filing cabinet, what I'm going to do, and remember this is just an optional extra, you don't have to put it in. I'm just going to glue these elements together. I'm going to just, while I've got it here, I'm just going to glue everything. And that's that little tab down there, very important tab, that one, because there's not much of it and it's got a lot of work to do. So crease line in there, that's going to allow the cabinet to kind of fold in and out. So the next thing to do is make this up as a box shape like so. Just put that in there, and then that will just fold like so. As it kind of opens and closes, it will never quite fully come out, but hey, it's going to look pretty good. So once we've made up our filing cabinet, that's going to stick right next to the desk. We can see the white line for measuring it up against, so it might be easier at this point just to rest it against the leg there, so it's just touching. We've got to make sure that this tab goes over that halfway line like so, otherwise it's going to jam. That's tricky to see, but that little tab has got to sit that side of the line so it lifts up. If it's sticking on the other part, then it will jam, and then this will come up and fold. Actually, when it's open, in its open position, it's going to be up here, so we've got to now, again, a little bit of a tricky fold, just come along, push that in so it collapses like so, and allow that to naturally push against the wall. So I'm going to just close that up like so, tucking the cabinet in underneath, close and push down, and then when we open up, our cabinet will open like so. Let me just show you that again. I've got my filing cabinet here. It pushes in. It's a little bit tricky, this. It pushes in and up. You'll see it as we start to close the card. We just then push everything down. We just pull that down like so, and then just push it down, and then a nice bit of rub to stick that. And as we open up, and our filing cabinet comes out like so. Now the sides are always a little bit disappointing, they don't quite fully open up, but that's just to give an impression of it being there. As you can see, if I just push it to the side, you can, if you want to, just leave that bit out, but it should kind of pull up and out a little bit as we open it up. Oh, whoops, if I can show you there. Okay, so the next thing to do is pop the chair in, and our chair looks like this, and that's going to line up on the floor there. If you can see, that's our width of the chair with the line. So what we're going to do is just glue the tabs and the back, and then that will all just fit into position like so. The chair's now glued up with the tabs and the back, so what we've got to do is just sort of get it into position. It's going to be the easiest way first is just going to be to line it up on that white line there. Now this is 3D, so it's quite difficult to actually show you, but you can see the white line. That's the distance it needs to be away at that point. And if we fold the chair back here, now it's again a case of just closing everything up. Whoops, that's come away. Let me just stick those on a little bit more thoroughly. This is possibly the hardest part, because you've got to get it sort of perpendicular to that line accurately, or else it doesn't work so well. And unlike other things where we can just build it up and lie it down, because it's so 3D, it creates a few problems for us. So just again squeeze that up and in. We don't want it to stick too soon, so we don't want it to stick in the wrong position, but fold it up and down, and a little bit of squeeze there, and as we open up, hey presto, we get our chair. That looks fantastic, and that's ready for our craft room cat to sit on. So at this stage, pause, push everything down, and we're just going to come back now, have a look at our craft room, and what we're going to do now is come back and look at all the ancillary bits and pieces. Two things we can do. First of all, one is just to pop the rear legs in, and they'll just line up now to the back of the chair there, sorry, to the back of the desk, and they'll just sort of find their way into position there, and so that just really completes the illusion of that. And again, we've got the same again for the chair here. That can just come along and sit behind, just glue that on, and that can just rest there like so. Just pop that in at that point now.